Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the fourth episode of the MJCRM podcast. Today's going to be a bit of a different video. We're going to be discussing Paul Pogba and the potential for a new contract, which was being talked about in sort of like the mid summer of this year, and it seems to have gone a bit quiet recently. So we're going to discuss that. Just before we go ahead with it, it's not going to be a hate video. He gets a lot of that online, enough of it in the media as well. So it's just going to be a discussion on whether or not I think that we should be offering him a new deal or not. Paul Pogba signed obviously for Manchester United in 2016, and his current deal runs until June 2021. So really, we've only got him for the rest of this season. Obviously, when he signed for massive money. It was around 90 million, which was the highest transfer fee at the time. And since then, things have kind of skyrocketed beyond that to a ridiculous extent. Obviously, if we were to sell him just now, or rather in January, get something for him, but because he'd only have 6 months left in his contract, I don't really see many people paying a lot of money for him. So it's a difficult one, really. Just looking at his Premier League career, it's been a bit hit and miss to say the least. I think that's fair to say. Looking at Paul Pogba's stats, at the time of recording, he has appeared 114 times in the Premier League, scored 25 goals and provided 26 assists, which is okay. He was injured for a large part of last season and then did kind of come back with a bang, sort of around when Bruno Fernandes signed, and then obviously the restart as well. But it seems to be that way with Pogba. When things are going quite bad for the club and for him, there's a game which seems to, not only kind of save him from a bit of criticism, but also Solskjaer as well. They both seem to get a bit lucky in the sense that we'll end up with a run of games against, say, like Chelsea, Arsenal, and like PSG in the Champions League, or Real Madrid, whoever it is, big teams, all in the space of a month or something, and we seem to do really well in those games. But before that, Solskjaer's from another video, but Pogba, for example, before that, would have been playing terribly, not really influencing games at all, not affecting them in any meaningful way. But then these big games come along where he kind of shows what he can do, and then people kind of forget about the other kind of poor performances that he does. If you compare him to, for example, Kevin De Bruyne, can you really remember one game where he's not been world class? I know some people won't want to hear that because he plays for a direct rival, but it is true. He is really consistent to what he does. Paul Pogba, I think, it might be, I don't know if it's a bit late from now. He is 27, but he does have a higher ceiling than De Bruyne. He could have been a lot more than what he is, if we're honest. I don't think certain managers have helped that we have Mourinho wanting to play him at centre back and things like that. Solskjaer, nice guy. Is he the right person to coach somebody like Pogba? I'm not so sure. So far, that would suggest no. Just going back to his stats briefly, they're not bad, but I mean, they're not like what you'd expect from a £90 million player. And at the time, Pogba was the best midfielder in the world. Um, should we be offering him a new contract? Again, I'm not so sure. We have just signed Donny van de Beek, but he is nowhere near the level of what Pogba could be if Pogba was consistent. The problem with Pogba is he isn't consistent at all. He'll maybe play 10 good games and then 12 bad games, which, isn't good enough, really, particularly for the wage that he's currently on. At the same time, however, it would be an absolute farce if we lost him for free at the end of the season. But that is something I can see happening, and it would be totally ridiculous. At the same time, however, we need to kind of remember that because of his inconsistencies and because teams have kind of eased off him a little bit, it's not as if it was, the summer of 2019 where we really thought we could lose him. This summer, teams just don't really seem to have been interested in him. Real Madrid, I know they didn't sign anybody at all, but they're the team who you thought, right, if he's going to leave, he's going to go there or back to Juventus. There's not really been any serious bid other than, leaks in the media, which, to be honest, I'm not sure are totally correct. It's questionable how in demand he is. What this reminds me of, it's like the De Gea situation when he signed his new contract either a season ago or 2 seasons ago, I can't remember. And he's on this big wage at the moment. And you have to think, has he justified that big wage? In terms of David De Gea, no, not at all. He does not deserve to be on the wage he is on due to the 2 previous seasons. And you have to think, if Pogba signs a new deal with us, he's going to want an increase in wage, and he's already one of the highest paid earners at the club. Has he earned Has he earned that? I would say no, honestly. I'm not sure because he'll probably want something ridiculous like £300,000 a week. I don't actually know what he's on currently, but I'd imagine it's about 200,000. The guy is obviously a brand. He does very well with his social media. He's a clever guy. He's got an agent who I don't particularly like. Nobody does, but he gets the best deals for his client, and he'll do the same here again. And if we're not willing to pay, um, a higher wage for Pogba, then he'll run down his contract and go wherever he wants next season. And somebody will have him on a free. There's no doubt about that. But it would be a huge loss if we've spent all this money on him, um, uh, and we don't get anything in return at all. As I say, this isn't like me just having a go at him. I don't believe that's the right thing to do. He is a very good player. He's world class on his day. That's the problem. He's not world class all the time, and that is obvious. Yes, as I say, he's maybe not had the best midfield partners, but how many do we need to try to release Pogba in inverted commas? He's got Bruno Fernandes, who has already been more consistent than Pogba's ever been, and he's been there, what, 6 months? If you include the time that he's not played, obviously he's been there around 10 months now, but that's the season stopped for about 3 months. Just have to question what the best thing to do is here. I think we should be signing him up to a contract, but maybe not one of like 5 years, maybe something like 3 years, and maybe put like a high buyout clause of like 100 million or something, because no matter what, even if he signs that in January, he can leave at the end of the season if we want him to, and he wants to if somebody pays the release clause, which I think is fine. Because by the time that contract's up, he'll be 30, and he'll be slowing down anyway. Yeah, so maybe something like that. And if he wants to sign a higher, a longer length of contract, that's fine as well. But I just don't think we shouldn't be letting go. We shouldn't let him go on a free, is what I'm saying. But it's a difficult one because he's not really done anything, I would say, to earn that increase in wage which he's after. So we do need to be reasonable, and obviously the Glazers seem to do this thing where we will offer new contracts, ridiculous contracts to existing players, but not people who want to join the club. And the perfect example of that is Jadon Sancho. You know, I'm not going to go into that because it's a total disaster, and I've covered it in other videos. So yeah, again, another short one, but what do you think? Should Pogba be offered a new contract? If so, what type of contract and how long for? I am enjoying making these videos. I'm going to try doing another one tomorrow. That'll be the fourth day in a row, and that will be the fifth podcast if I get the time to do it, and I'm hoping that I can. Let me know, please, if you are enjoying these as well, because as I say, I'm enjoying making them. So please leave your comments in the section below and a like, as that would help me out quite a lot. I'm just starting out, so yeah, any help is appreciated. See you later.